Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Get Geek podcast, where we celebrate geek, nerd, and pop culture. Each week, we deliver the best analysis for fans, by fans, on anything related to movies, TV, video games, comics, anime, and manga. We talk geek. And now, here's the Get Geek podcast.
What up?
All right, here we go. Welcome to the Get Geek podcast. This is the first podcast of 2022. I'd like to welcome our listeners in the States and around the world. Thank you for joining us in this new year. I am Walt, and I am joined here by, as always, our Get Geekers. We've got Jose, we've got Wolfie, we've got AJ, and we've got Eli. Guys, say what's up.
What up? What up? What up?
Goodbye.
Hello. Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
Everybody is
Real
on
quick,
point
I got a
today.
quick question before we continue. What
Yes, sir.
season is this technically? What year are we in? Do we know? Like, I mean, I hope we know how long we've been doing this.
I guess you can say that this is our third year of doing Get Geek. I mean,
All right, well, there you
we've gone a long way, right? And even before that, remember we did start out with pop culture over pizza.
Pete Cop.
Yeah, that was our oldie but
Rest in
goodie. Believe it
peace.
or not, yeah, I know those episodes are still out there. So if you want to hear us before we became Get Geek, please join us. We had a slightly different cast, right? We had one more back then.
Half
stuff.
up. Yeah, we have a long and storied history in podcasting. Certainly.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
All right, before we get into it, of course, let's get the maintenance out of the way. And I just wanted to say, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. The best way you can help this little podcast is to give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. So please hit those buttons, give us those 5 stars, and let us know how we're doing. Today we're kind of doing we're gonna be talking very quickly on some of the subjects that we've missed out in the past couple of weeks that we haven't recorded. We needed some time away, much needed, but we're glad to be back. I know I'm excited.
heck yeah, I'm totally.
Yeah, we have some great things that we're going to talk about. Also,
I
some
can't
really
wait.
exciting things to talk about. So
Yeah.
I'm
Wait to
excited
talk
to be
about
back.
some stuff, man.
So
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like our welcome back episode, right? So everybody, welcome back.
There you go.
Welcome back.
We're going to be talking about Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett. We're going to be talking about Spider-Man No Way Home. But first of all, we're going to give our quick impressions on The Matrix Resurrections, which came out over the holidays. We've all seen it, right, guys?
Yep.
unfortunately,
I guess we're getting a sense of where AJ's going with this, right?
I mean, AJ can go ahead and start.
Yeah, go for it, AJ. What did you think of the Matrix Resurrection? I can't talk anymore. The Matrix Resurrections.
I'm going to sum it up in a way that the movie can only do it best. There was a scene in the movie that literally said, or I don't know, I'm gonna very loosely paraphrase this, but essentially there was a line in the movie where it was like, did this even need to be made? It was like a self-commentary on itself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there were
Absolutely.
so many these little things that if you picked up on them, you can tell that the Matrix did not want to be resurrected. It did not.
Well,
And it
I think-
translates
yeah, sorry.
into it's all right. And it
No, no, no.
translates into how I hate to say it, how bad it ended up being. Yeah.
Well, I think that I mean, it's not that not that I disagree in any way. I do agree. I just think that it's not that the Matrix didn't need to be remade. I just think that maybe some of the people that made it didn't need to make. I think that it should have been handed off to someone else. There was plenty of questions there left to be answered when the original trilogy ended. But and these are questions that I wanted answered, and the movie did answer some of those questions, but it answered them in very, very poor fashion, I feel like. Um, I do want to say that, like, now that it's been resurrected, I have more questions that need to be answered. So those are my thoughts, I guess.
Honestly, it was I don't like you said I don't feel like it shouldn't have been made. Obviously, it wasn't done well from what we're saying. And honestly, I don't really know much about Matrix 2, 3, whatever comes after 1. I only saw the first one. But I don't know, it just felt so awkward to me with like how they did things. It was just flat out horrible. Yeah, that's all.
So y'all kind of know that, at least in terms of revenue, I'm definitely the biggest Matrix super fan in the crew. I infamously saw the first Matrix film 12 times in theaters in 1999. I took everybody that I could find to go see that movie because I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was different and thought-provoking and amazing. This movie was, unfortunately, the thing that was underneath it, the story that they were trying to tell, I thought could have been absolutely incredible. I thought that the concepts that they tried to introduce were really clever. Okay, like the and a lot of reviews will say this, and I'm not trying to, I guess, just repeat or parrot what they say, but like it's not the best sum of all of its parts. It doesn't come together in a great way, and there's a great thing there. The fact that they're trying to make it very meta and self-referential, like AJ was talking about, like how they were trying to almost say how the movie shouldn't have been made. Okay, I get it. If you might be upset about that as a filmmaker, I totally understand that, but I don't know if they did it in the right way because of the tone of it was almost like it was a meta parody of the original Matrix films, in my opinion, because of like the cheeky humor and the silly humor. And it, instead of what it could have been and should have been, which is a great satire, like there's a real fine line difference between those two things, but a great satire of the original films and of the reception to the original films, because I think that's what Lana was trying to say with this movie, talking about the movies themselves and the way that we all received those original movies. And like I said, the concepts that were underneath it were really, really lent themselves well to maybe telling that story, but like it was a massive failure in my opinion. Unfortunately, there were parts that I really enjoyed in the beginning of the movie, but by the end, everything fell flat. There were freaking zombies flying out of windows.
Oh, that was
I was just like,
terrible.
Yeah, that was bad.
And like it seemed like Keanu Reeves was saving himself for John Wick 4 because all he did was like try to force push everything. So like, yeah, I really, really am upset and disappointed with this movie. I thought it could have been something great, but it really is one of the worst movies of last year, in my opinion. To be perfectly honest, one of the worst.
It might be one of the worst movies of all time, but maybe we could. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. But
one movie
it was
that is worse
pretty
than
bad.
that, and I think we all know what it is.
We had a whole podcast about movies that were terrible, right?
Yeah, okay, sure. No, I'm talking about Dragon Ball Revolutions or whatever it's called.
Well, what was that UV Bowl movie that you saw that I ended up watching it also? What the heck was the name of it? Postal, yeah.
Postal was pretty bad. There's a lot of there's a lot of bad movies out there. So that's why I say I wouldn't go that far because there are some really big turds out there, but
sure.
Listen, the way I look at this, this was a movie of moments, right? There were certain moments that were kind of cool, but in the totality of everything, it just didn't mesh together. And going back to the scene that we're all referencing, where Mr. Smith, which I have to say I did like Jonathan Groff's performance as Mr. Smith. I think that was one of the highlights of the film.
I love Jonathan Groff. I love him.
He did a really good job in terms of taking Mr. Smith and making it his own. It wasn't just a carbon copy of the old Mr. Smith. But we keep referencing this scene where it's like, you know what? They took this and WB was going to make this no matter what. And there's a part of me that kind of feels that I wish that did happen, because the Wachowskis in the last 3 films have not really hit their stride in terms of how that first movie was so good, right? And they've been chasing that greatness ever since, and they've never really gotten there again. And so I would have almost kind of secretly had hoped that somebody else would have given us a new take on the Matrix, because this just didn't feel, there were a lot of moments, like literally when we're watching it, I'm saying, did we just turn into a Walking Dead episode at the very end? Like I'm like, how in the world did this happen? And the whole thing with those people jumping out of the windows and kind of drone bombing them, it felt very weird, especially in a year where we're celebrating the unfortunate anniversary of 9/11. It felt tone deaf in that sense. That's the first thing. That's the first thing that I thought of when I saw that scene, and I'm like, are we really doing this? I mean, and I will say this: I was upset that they didn't bring Lawrence Fishburne back, but the way that they brought in Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character felt okay.
Yes.
If you're not bringing in Lawrence Fishburne, then this is the way you do it with Morpheus. But they changed him into a transformer, and I didn't appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? They basically changed him. So we don't
want to get into a debate on the Matrix, of course. I'm sorry, I almost started the debate, but
can I say one more small thing? On that point about the zombies in the Walking Dead episode, you know what the thing about the movie actually really overall kind of was for me that I think was my problem? It felt almost kind of mean. It was like this movie felt kind of like you liked the Matrix, and like it made you kind of feel stupid for liking the Matrix. I feel like it was making fun of people for liking the Matrix.
Yeah,
and it was making fun of people for liking blockbusters and making fun of people for liking like zombie stuff. I think that was kind of what that was at the end, and so that's kind of why I was like, well, if you were gonna do something like this, let somebody else do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because that was my whole point. Because why include that whole WB comment in the movie if I clearly bothered them to actually have to put that scene in the movie. I'm even surprised WB allowed that scene to be in the movie, because it doesn't look well on WB's part. So I mean, me personally, like I said, I would have liked somebody else, because then maybe we get a refresh of the Matrix franchise and we see a different take and maybe another vision, because we've already seen this vision 2 movies in a row before this and it hasn't worked. So, that's my whole take on that,
I mean, I feel like it's kind of like it's like the Batman prophecy in a sense. If you remember in the Dark Knight, was the Dark Knight just the Dark Knight, right? Where it's like you either what's the quote where it's like you either
you either
what quote I'm talking about.
Yeah, you either become the hero or
you either die the hero or you watch yourself become the hero.
Either die.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's kind of what happened. I think that that Lana and some of the people that made this movie should have just accepted it, that it's going to be remade or whatever, accept it, stay the hero that created the Matrix. But no, they had to kind of stay on this, and now they're the villain, because we all, I think generally, all the real Matrix fans hate that they did this to the Matrix franchise. Basically, hate that. Like, I hate that they did this to me, to us. Like, I'm like, why are you, like, I've been, from the day that it was announced, every single Matrix head was just like, we cannot wait to get more of what we love. And instead, we got, like Jose said, like, oh, you love the Matrix? Well, you're dumb for doing that, you know? Anyway, um, so yeah, I think, maybe we can have like a little bit of a longer discussion on another episode regarding what went wrong with the Matrix. I mean, it seems like there's plenty that went wrong and a lot to discuss. But we got a couple other things that we got to partake in over the holiday break. But most recently, the Book of Boba Fett. Everybody here that listens to the podcast knows how big of a Fett, I guess some would say a Fett apologizer or defender in sense.
Apologist.
Yeah, apologist, right? Like that's kind of like the new political term and stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm a huge Boba Fett defender, and I am elated at like the last episode specifically. So, but why don't we go ahead and talk? If you guys want to give your initial thoughts on the first couple episodes, and then we can kind of go into discussion and so on the book of Boba Fett. I would really, really like to hear the boys' interpretation, of the first two episodes, especially considering AJ and I's, storied history discussing Fett.
I love the meme where, I don't know, I think I sent this to you guys, where it's literally Boba Fett's head in a tube, and he has the back to thing on, and it's like Jango Fett after surviving the Battle of Geonosis. I just love that thing. But anyway, sorry about that.
With his
digression.
head chopped off. Right?
Yeah. But like,
you have to start with the disrespect. You have to start with the disrespect.
It's a little creepy.
That's not even disrespect to Boba Fett. That's kind of a diss on Jango Fett.
Exactly.
And that's the Fett I prefer.
Yeah, he loves Jango Fett. So,
but anyway, I will give it this. So far, it is vastly superior to the Bad Batch, which is unfortunate because they were supposed to be cool.
That's not saying much.
It is doing everything that I thought it would do, I guess. Well, maybe not every single thing I thought it would do, but it's very clear, he's very focused on, stuff like, you respect me and this is my way, my house type thing. And, I like the vibe of it so far. It's like Mandalorian, except he's trying to be Scarface. Well, when I say, okay, wait, hold on. That was a bad analogy because Scarface is actually bad.
Yeah, Scarface is trash.
Except he's trying to be, he's trying to be Kingpin. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. I would have gone more like he's trying to be Tony Soprano.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
Sopranos?
well, you're not.
Yeah,
You're not.
they've,
ready for
they've
that.
never seen the.
I've heard of the show.
They've never seen Sopranos.
I've never actually seen it.
I don't know. I think those are all terrible analogies. All those people are actually pretty evil. He's actually trying to be much better. A better analogy would be like a Robin Hood or something like that. Like, and that's not even the best analogy. I could probably think of a better one. But like, all those people are like really, really evil, murderous people, except for Boba Fett blowing up that one guy with the rocket.
And he's gonna blow up more people. He's he has this whole Mandalorian code. He's still gonna kill people. He's murderous.
He does it with respect. With respect, it's different.
Yeah.
So did the
I
Godfather.
agree. Yeah, the Godfather. Sort of.
Okay, there. You know what? He's trying to be the Godfather. Is that better?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Okay.
The Fett father.
He's trying to make him an offer they can't refuse. Trying to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
Anyway, AJ.
But yeah, that actually concludes my initial observations. It's pretty good so far, especially this latest episode.
For me, I mean, I feel like it's good. It's
Aw,
good.
come on,
it's
Eli.
good. No,
You're my
it's
boy.
good.
You're supposed to be my
No,
boy. It's supposed to be my Boba Fett brother.
But the first episode was a little bit slow. The second episode was like really action packed and stuff. It was cool to see like him doing like trying to like come up, I guess, or something. Yes, trying to survive and stuff. But I mean, like AJ said, it is kind of what I expected. So I'm not really seeing anything like different from my previous expectations. It just seems to be the Boba Fett show and nothing else
There
so
you
far.
go.
But
Well, I'm glad that you have some good expectations.
I
then.
mean, but that's not necessarily
Oh my God.
all the way good though.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna pass it on. I'm gonna pass it on.
No,
One
Eli, though.
thing-
If you think
No
about
way,
it, though,
no
real quick,
way.
I mean,
real
it's
quick,
called
real
the
quick.
Book of Boba Fett, not for nothing.
Yeah, no, but think about it though.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
could you imagine if we had gotten another Bad Batch where it's like, oh, we're expecting this, and then we don't get what we're expecting? I mean, that would have been terrible.
Or it's literally about everyone else but the Bad Batch.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, no. What I'm trying to say is that it's literally living up to my expectations, which they weren't low, but like, and it's not high either. It's like mid for me right now because there's nothing really important going on in the show. If I'm gonna be honest, it's just no. It's just him doing stuff.
I'm looking at Gabe's face right now because oh my god.
I mean, Eli, every show is
You're
every
gonna tell
show
me
is
it's not doing anything important? It's literally giving
there's
us a whole background
there's
into the
nothing
Tusken
important.
Raiders.
Yeah, but that's not important.
Just
yeah.
yeah. Can I?
It's
Can I?
cool.
Can I?
Yeah.
Can I like
No,
chill
you
here?
explain.
Like,
AJ.
One thing I am gonna say is, while we do need the explanation, so far we've been spending a little too much time with the flashbacks.
I want to see
That's
Boba
what
Fett doing.
I think that's what Eli's trying to get across. It seems like they're living more in the past. Granted, we
Yeah.
need some of those explanations than actually in the present where things are happening and the stakes are much higher.
I want to see him doing
because we know in the past that he lives clearly, so the stakes aren't as high because we know, hey, he's remembering, so he's alive. But I don't know. Yeah, that's really my only real criticism of it.
I want to see him doing Godfather stuff, like putting horse heads in the beds and stuff. That would be sick.
Well, he did kind of do Godfather stuff, but we'll get into that stuff on the episode. I'll watch. You'll see. You're just not. You're not paying attention. Clearly. All right. What about the elder statesman of the Melger clan?
Is that me?
Well, I mean, it's the we got two younger Melgers.
We're going extremes, right?
Yeah.
I'm the baby brother.
Gabe, you and I have had fun, in past years poking, messing around with the whole Boba Fett and Darth Maul debate. You being a huge Boba Fett fan, me being a huge Maul fan. And we've had a lot of fun doing it, right? It's never been mean-spirited. It's just us busting each other's chops, right?
Okay.
So the reason I do that is because I'm prefacing what I'm about to say, and kind of trying to soften the blow here.
Oh
and
my goodness!
No, but hear me out, because I don't find the Book of Boba Fett as bad as any of the other shows. I think it's probably sits in my respect between Mandalorian season 1 and Mandalorian season 2. Right? It's definitely not as bad as Bad Batch. I'm just having a lot of trouble connecting with the show, and that first episode was not the greatest in my opinion. The second episode did bump it up in quality. I guess the problem that I'm having here is with the characterization of Boba Fett, and I feel like we're watching two shows. And one of the shows I really, really am interested in being the flashbacks. I'm kind of gonna disagree with the boys on that. I actually like the flashbacks a lot. I think it informs what Boba Fett is going to do going forward, I'm less interested in what's going on in the present, because my thing is, we've had this characterization of Boba Fett prior, and I know that there is stuff out there in the comics, so I'm going to put that out there, but I'm not going to include the comics in this because the comics, for the most part, is not canon, right? We've established that. There's new comics that are now in canon, but a lot of the stuff that dealt with Boba Fett was non-canonical. It was the older stuff, right? So I'm going to put that out there. But the characterization that we've had of Boba Fett in the movies, right, has been one of he's been a badass. He's ruthless. He does what needs to be done in order to get what the bounty is, right? And we've got that total turnaround here with the present stuff where it's like, well, I'm not about fear. I'm about respect. And I gather I have to wait until the end of the show to see him make that turn. And I guess that's why we're seeing the flashbacks. But early on, it felt disconnected to me. And that's why I'm having a hard time really jumping into the show with both feet into the water. Because you have two dueling Boba Fetts happening at the same time. One of them is his progression into the character that he already is, but I don't feel a connection to it. The second thing, I think the fight choreography in the show is horrible. There's nothing in there that is like, impressive to me. The fight in Tashi Station wasn't great. The fight in the on the train was a little bit better, but that first episode with the fights never got into it. Never felt I never felt any of the blows landing. I'm not a fan of the fight choreography in this show. The third thing is I don't like how they've treated. No. The third thing is that I'm not a fan of how they're treating Fennec in the show. Fennec Shan to me is become just a yes man. She's just there to say yes, boss. Let's get them, boss. There is no.
Yeah, but that makes sense.
But you never showed her like that before. And
right,
so
but
Boba
saved her life, so she owes her life to Boba. She becomes
I know, but at the same time, that's not the character that we know Fennec Shan. And again, we're going back to this whole 180-degree reversal of what we know these characters to be. Fennec Shan, you can replace her with anybody, and it doesn't matter. I really don't give a crap about Fennec Shan in the show, to be honest.
Only been two episodes.
She doesn't. But that's what I'm saying, and that's why I'm reserving my whole entire thing, because I want to see how this progresses. I said the first show was not bad, but it wasn't great. The second show improved. So if we continue with this trajectory, then I'm going to be more into the show. But right now, I'm still kind of on the fence of how good the Book of Boba Fett is, in my opinion.
Really interesting. Damn, I really thought that I was going to be able to connect with you, especially on the second episode, but we were like,
no, I did like the second episode. I thought it was a good step in the right direction. And again, I'm really enjoying the flashbacks. I think if you had that as a show, I think I would have a better connection to the show. It's just the economy of switching back and forth that's really killing it for me. And it's not even it's a hard cut from one to the other, because it's almost like you're looking at two different characters, So so that's my problem with it.
I don't see that. I mean, I want to get Jose to chime in, but just real quick, like, I don't see that because if you're talking about like the movies that we've seen Boba Fett in, of course, in the original trilogy we got just minutes of him, so you can't really say that you have like a basis for his entire characterization off of like the 4 minutes that he has of doing a job as a bounty hunter.
But you got a sense of it, though. You got a sense of it.
In the prequel trilogies, you see that he just how loyal he is to Jango Fett and how much he cares about his dad, as well as in Rebels and stuff. you see that he is about loyalty. You know, he's looking for revenge specifically on that. So,
but that's fine. But it's never been respect over fear. You know,
right,
the
but
whole
what I'm
thing
trying,
that made Boba Fett an interesting character is that he was one of the most feared bounty hunters in the thing, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm a little bit older. I guess I'm getting a little bit softer. Let's go with the respect bit a bit. You know,
that's not
so
it at
that's
all. That ain't
that.
at all.
Hold
I
on,
don't
hold on,
see
hold
it
on,
at
hold on. Let me
all.
stop. Everybody stop. Let me jump in. Wolfie, do not despair. I'm on your side, okay? I'm on your side on this one. I think that, first of all, I think the show is fantastic. I think the first 2 episodes are better than The Mandalorian's first 2 episodes, okay? Number 2, I'm not sure why everybody's upset. Didn't we want something in Star Wars where it wasn't just somebody finding a youngling and like getting connected to them and being like now, like, I have to protect this youngling, like, again. And like every Star Wars thing that we've seen recently, even The Mandalorian, which you enjoyed,
Yeah, but that's
the
not the issue
characterization,
here.
that's the storyline. But here's the other thing. The fear respect thing. I got to jump in on that, and I have to disagree with that 100%.
Okay.
Because you see the change with the Tuskens, and it connects to episode 1 or episode 3 beautifully, because part of the problem with Boba Fett is he's been looking for family ever since Jango died. Okay? That's part of the reason why he's been going around the galaxy just murdering people as a dang bounty hunter. He's just been following his father's footsteps, and he hasn't had a different vision of what he could be as his own man. The Tusken Raiders are his origin story and are teaching him to be that man that respects and connects to a new family, because that's what he's doing with the Tusken Raiders. They saved his life, just like he saved Fennec's life, which I think is also a part of the poetic fun of it. And so
I don't disagree with that.
As a result of that, which is like, I think that another thing that connects to that greatly is that they've been talking about family a lot in the show, including the mayor in episode 2, talking about how running a family is very different from being a bounty hunter. The thing that's fun about that, I think, is that Boba Fett understands how to be a part of a family better than anybody on this show, better than any of these Hutts and these evil characters that he's going up against. So, like, for me, I think that all of those things are kind of being covered very, very, very well in the show. I can kind of agree with you. The fight choreography is not great at times, but I think that Joanna Bennett, who plays that Tusken Raider, that like really awesome Tusken Raider, is amazing. And I think we also have to realize that a part of this is that Tamara Morrison's Boba Fett is learning how to fight as a Tusken Raider. So the choreography is, by that extension, not going to be great. He's learning how to become a fighter. You know what I mean?
But hold on. A lot of the fights happen in the present time, not in the past. So
you mean against the assassins, they were trying to kill him, and those kinds of fights?
Yeah, those are just not good. I'm sorry. You know, we've seen better in Star Wars, and I'm holding the show to that level, and it's not there. So, you know, you can see, yeah, he's learning in the past. I get that. That does not mean that, so how does that work in the present? Because in the present, the fight choreography, I'm sorry, is not good.
I wouldn't say that it's not good. It's not great, but it's not bad.
But again, I'm holding it to Star Wars standards, and we've seen better choreography. Yeah. So why would we go and take a step back in terms of that when we're watching the shows?
So let me ask you one question: have you hated all of Fennec's fight choreography in the present, or has that been better to you? I asked this question for a reason.
Fennec.
Well, I asked this question for a reason. Go ahead, if you could just answer this real quick.
I'm struggling to and see. This is my point. Fennec to me is a forgettable character in the show.
The fight choreography. I'm not talking about the characterization yet. I'm talking about the fight choreography.
I'm trying to remember the fight that she's had, and you know what? It doesn't dawn on me because she's a forgettable character.
Because there was one thing that I was sort of worried about. I was worried about the flashbacks a little bit, so I kind of see that. I've enjoyed how they've taken the flashbacks, what direction they've taken the flashbacks in the second episode. But there's also something interesting here that I'm trying to figure out, is that it seems like Boba Fett, it has like some sort of recurring injury, or there's some issue, right? Because he keeps going into the back of the tank, it seems, whether he got hurt or not. That seems to be what's going on at the end of every episode or at every night. I know they're using it as a flashback mechanic, but I feel like something might come of that as well. So that might explain some of his, I don't know,
But he
difficulty.
didn't go into the back of the tank in the second episode.
That's how he got to the flashbacks. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think that's how he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
He did.
I don't know why I
and
can't
that's
remember that.
that's
But
another
so-
weird thing, because he did show up in the Mandalorian and he didn't feel less than, you know.
Right, but
Um,
here's the thing. I think that like you guys are not you guys may not be taking stock into the fact that it is a show that you have to kind of expect there to be a payoff and not just assume that it's not going to pay off. I think,
and I totally agree, and that's why I said I'm not shutting the show down at all, because I still am enjoying
Yeah.
it, but I do have some
it doesn't sound like
criticisms.
it.
No, I am, but I do have criticism with the show, you know. Like I said, I'm giving it a chance because
Yeah.
the second episode is a huge step up from the first.
So what do you
And
like
I-
about the second
like
episode?
I said,
Let's do some positivity.
I like, again, I really like the flashbacks. I really like the journey that Boba Fett is taking in the flashbacks. It's just, for me, the present, not as exciting for me.
So Black
And
Black
again,
Chrysanthemum
so let me
becoming
go ahead.
canon is not exciting at all. That huge Wookiee, that's the
Wait,
most
wait,
terrifying thing that you've ever seen
Hold up,
in your life.
hold up.
We're getting
But just because I don't like the present doesn't mean there aren't aspects I don't like
Well, that's
about
what
it.
I want to know. I want to know what aspects you like about the present. I don't want to just flashbacks are cool. Like
Dude,
you
when
like?
I saw that Wookiee was amazing. I want to know more about him. You know what I'm saying?
Like
I
there's some,
really do.
we're planting some fun
know?
seeds, right? You know, I think that they're planting some fun seeds with some of the stuff in the present. I think those Hutts that showed up is a fun seed that they were planting. Him having a conflict with the Hutts and a Hutt brother and sister that were like, I think it seems like they're implying that they were related to Jabba the Hutt, if I'm not mistaken. Or all
Yeah,
the
they're
Hutts
cousins,
related?
right?
Cousins, right?
I think they're cousins, right?
Right. So that's
Listen.
pretty cool. Like, I think that,
I-
that there's some fun elements that they're introducing in the present. I just think it's that part of it is also that we had to fulfill the prophecy of Patton Oswalt on Parks and Recreation and see Boba Fett rise out of the sand and like see him return to life. But it's
Listen,
going to get going, I think.
I like I said, it's not that I said that I am enjoying the past more than the present. There's not, it doesn't mean that everything in the present that's happening I hate, because I'm not. Listen,
I want to hear about what else you like about the present.
I think we're getting away from this because we really need to hear from the guy that actually loves Boba Fett. I think we're getting away because of my hot take, I guess, right? And I knew this was going to happen, so I was fully prepared for this. But we really need to hear from the guy who's actually the fan in the room about Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett. So, Gabe, please let us know what you and feel free to criticize anybody, meaning me, about what we've said so far.
Well, all right. So here's the thing. The very first thing is that I think that you guys forget who the target audience is. The target audience isn't just Star Wars fans, and it isn't Star Wars fans primarily. It's Boba Fett fans, because you have to consider the fact that like Boba Fett fans have been living under this, under the thumb of the fandom that has been saying like Boba Fett sucks, Boba Fett isn't real, Boba Fett dies for 30 plus years. So now that we have an actual show, this isn't for you guys. This is for us. This is for us to find it, because the question that we have is, all right, we're going to defend Boba Fett. We love Boba Fett, but we also want to know what happened to Boba Fett. We want to know exactly what's happening to him and where his future is. Okay, so I think that that's something that you have to like really pay attention to with the whole flashback stuff. The flashbacks inform the present, right? You're seeing a Boba Fett that is, being transformed into this guy who he's not a bounty hunter anymore. He doesn't want to be a bounty hunter, but he has chosen his way of life. His way of life is, this is going to be what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to Tatooine. I'm going to be my own ruler, and I'm going to have my own quote unquote family. His mob family, mafia family, whatever you want to call it. So if that's who Boba Fett's going to be and who he's been transformed as, we need to see how that transformation took place, which is where the flashbacks come into place. Not just the flashbacks, but the fact that he didn't know who he was when he came out of the Sarlacc pit. when he got captured by the Tusken Raiders, he still didn't know who he was until he saw their way of life. And I thought that this is where you and I would really connect, Walt, because this is much like the last samurai, where he didn't expect to, have any kind of connection to the Raiders, but he sees their way of life. He sees their warrior class and their own honor system within themselves. But I think he also sees, and this could be a metaphorical thing, he sees, a race that were misunderstood and considered just savages. And then we get a glimpse of them having like an actual, an honor system, their own indigenous fighting system, their own code, so to speak, and they've accepted him, as part of that family.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with that 100%. Like I said, I love the past. I love the past.
Here's
the
flashbacks.
Thing.
Who he is in the past, especially in the second episode, is exactly who he is in the future. Because the first thing that he did after taking down the train is he became a mob boss. He didn't kill all those. Actually, I don't even know what race they are, but he didn't kill all those guys.
Oh, dude, they were in the animated series. They were in the Clone Wars, right?
Right. I didn't. Mm-hmm. I wasn't. I only saw anything Boba Fett with Clone and Rebels. That's all I really paid attention.
It's like something fish related. They're like pikes or something like that.
Yeah,
regardless.
Yeah, they're the pikes.
Regardless, he could have certainly killed them and all, but no, he got information from them. Then he made a deal with them the way that a mob boss would. Okay, basically created. He said, "This is now my territory." Well, he didn't say it's my territory. He said it's the Raiders' territory. Mm-hmm. But he's looking at it as almost like an underboss. Like, this is our territory. You want to come through here, you got to pay a tax. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I know that you guys did us wrong, but you know what? I'm going to forgive that stuff. I'm even going to give you some water to go back and tell them who this territory belongs to now. Okay. That was the very first instance that he became a mob boss, and that informs who he becomes in the future. And that's why I think that that you're not watching two shows, you're seeing the transformation and the result of it.
Yeah, I listen, but I never and that's why I enjoyed the second episode a little bit more, because it's tying the two together. That first episode was very disjointed to me, and I'm guys, I'm not fighting you against any of the points that you're making. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just letting you know that this is how I feel. I'm not as all in with Boba Fett right now as you guys are, but I see where this is going.
There's a little part of you that wishes that this is false.
No. That's not it entirely. I'm just looking
sure
at
it.
Will
get his own show someday.
Yeah, I'm sure. But like I said, I'm not fighting you against this. This is not what I'm trying to do. What I'm saying is that I see where this is going. Maybe for me, and again, this is a personal thing, I maybe would have wanted to see the past first before we got up into the present, and maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time, because especially in that first episode, the stark difference, it was so stark, and the second episode kind of brings them closer together, and that's why I said I'm not hating on the show. I'm waiting to see it get better, because I see the arc that it's taking, and I'm liking it. I'm just not 100% there yet, because I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm afraid. We've seen this before with some of these other shows where the trajectory goes this way, and then all of a sudden it hits rock's bottom.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe I'm a little shell shocked from those other shows, and I'm taking a cautious approach to the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Maybe I do want to say something real quick. It's just the title itself actually kind of reminded me. This is actually how a lot of books are actually written, where a chapter will start in present day, almost like an epilogue to itself, and then have a flashback, and I actually kind of realized that just after my third viewing of the second episode, that it's that this is actually kind of playing like a chapter of a book, right? Like, hey, like this is me right now, and then all of a sudden the chapter finishes with a flashback that informs its present. And I think it's going to keep going that way until I think it shifts. Like right now we have like each episode is about 25% present, 75% past. I think the next episode are going to go more 50-50, and then it's going to shift to 75 present and 25% past. And I think that once you finish the book of Boba Fett, or the show, you'll see the entire picture. And I think it'll really kind of make the first couple episodes make more sense to you guys. Anyone else have any final thoughts, Eli, AJ, before we move on to the next topic?
I mean, I guess I just want to clarify. It's not that I don't like the flashback scenes, like you guys have been saying. They've been really enriching where his character growth is concerned and just the concepts themselves. Like, I'm also kind of happy that recently they've decided, you know what, let's throw the Tusken Raiders some love. They're really not as bad as you guys think, And I've been kind of enjoying that so far.
They've been cool.
But again, like, at least for me, it feels like there's an imbalance. Like, I get, again, I sound like a broken record, but it's really just my mini gripe with it. We're spending so much time in the past, it's coming at the expense of the present.
So
I
far.
completely agree with
So
that.
far. And
It'll
that's
all
all.
make sense in the end.
Yeah, I no doubt, but
see.
that's just my little gripe with it so far. Otherwise, it is good. It is. Now, what about you, Eli?
I mean, I said it before. It's not great. Could definitely be better. I feel like it's somewhere in that realm of okay and like not mid. I'm not even gonna take it that far, but it's okay. It's not something where I can say it's not enjoyable. I'm pretty sure that all of us can agree that this is a very enjoyable show, that we like watching it. It's just that there are too many, like you said, there's an imbalance. I have a little bit with I have some gripes with how they're going about this whole mob business. It doesn't really feel, I mean, at least for me, it doesn't really feel like a mob business. And the past is like you said, it's way too focused on, and it's cool how we get those scenes, but I want to see more of the present.
Okay. Before we move on to Spider-Man No Way Home, I just do want to make one quick point that I kind of chuckled at. During the second episode, Boba Fett has that encounter with the assassins, and
It was the first episode. The first episode.
Was it the first episode?
Yeah.
Or
the second episode is when he takes them to the mayor. He takes the assassin to the mayor. Remember?
Okay.
That's the second episode.
Yeah. I thought it was the second episode, right?
No, the first episode is when he has the assassin encounter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Whatever episode it was, right? I did chuckle when the assassins are trying to escape and Boba Fett blows up one of them and then tells Fennec, I need them alive.
Fennec, alive.
So I'm like, whatever.
That was weird. That was weird.
Yeah. It was funny though, but it was weird.
I think Wolfie, especially when you and I agree that he's already kind of become the character that he is by the present, that moment is jarring. Because I think you had made the point that maybe like, he's still like got his bounty hunter ways, but he doesn't.
Oh no, it's like an angry. That's what I'm saying. It's like a Tony Soprano, like an angry Tony Soprano. He might kill one of his would-be assassins out of rage and frustration, because that's how like a guy that has no legal boundaries would do. He's like, get me that one alive. Let me take my frustrations out on this one. I can't believe this. I was about to use some X-rated words, but
I got it.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's where I see that. I've seen enough mob stuff to realize, that's kind of how it goes.
Maybe that was the one that really hurt him. I got to watch the episode again. I don't know, because like one of them that really injured him, right? Maybe it was that guy, and he was just like, "F you, dude," and blew him up.
Boom.
Oh my God.
Anyway, before we move on, just a quick reminder to everyone to please like, rate, and share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the episode so far. Please share the episode with a friend that hasn't checked us out yet, and get us on board. Anyway, so who would like to take on the next topic, which is Spider-Man No Way Home?
Oh man, I guess because I made a sound, I'll start. I just made like an excited little like weird sound, like man, was that movie? That movie I think was fantastic, and I hope that that's the general consensus. I'm just going to mention right up front that like I think most of us spoke about this, and we all kind of agree that the middle did drag a little bit, and that stopped it from being a freaking perfect and awesome and amazing like 9.5 or 9 or 10 movie, and took a little bit away from it. But I mean, just like Infinity War, just like Endgame, like this movie is fan service generally done just almost perfectly. And like I loved it. I mean, we all knew like who was going to make an appearance in this movie pretty much for months and months and months and months. We talked about how the Oscar needs to go to Andrew Garfield for his constant denials. Like, I'm not in the movie. I'm not in the movie. I don't know. They didn't give me a call. Like constantly going on shows and just pretending like he wasn't in it. We all knew kind of what was going to happen a little bit. We all kind of knew who was going to be in it. We all had a decent idea of like what this movie was going to be about, and it still kind of managed to blow me away. And I think the biggest reason why, and then like I'll turn it over to one of y'all to give like your quick thoughts, is the biggest reason why I think I love this movie so much beyond all like the awesome cameos and like the return of like some of your favorite villains and heroes and Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe and everybody, and Daredevil being reintroduced into the MCU, which is another amazing moment. Besides all of that, like amazing fan service, like the way that this movie almost makes the first two movies in the Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland, I think, better, because the biggest complaint about Tom Holland this entire time in the MCU was that he was more like an Iron Boy Jr. than his own Spider-Man. But this movie reframed everything that we saw through all of these movies as his origin story. This is the end of his origin story. Everything from fighting with the Avengers in Civil War to fighting Vulture to fighting Mysterio all led to this moment where, spoilers, obviously, he has his Uncle Ben moment. Aunt May dies, teaches him that great power, with great power comes great responsibility, and even changed the line a little bit to like give it its own flair, right? But like the fact that all of this kind of turned this into his origin story is just amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on most of it. Okay, I think I didn't feel like it dragged on in the middle. Personally, I thought that it was maybe because I knew obviously it's the last one in the trilogy. I expected it to be as fleshed out as possible. And a lot of stuff that happened in the middle is what made Aunt May's death scene so impactful. I mean, it's I think everything was beautifully done. I like the idea of kind of giving us like Spider-Man's lore in reverse, order, instead of like origin movie number 1, relationship conflict number 2, and then conclusion with the bad guys number 3. We kind of got all that stuff sort of backwards, right? We got like the origin of him and MJ, and then the conclusion of that in this film. The only issue that I have, pretty much the only issue whatsoever that I have is that it's kind of like what is it, the Valley of 10,000 eyes, something like that. It's like when you see animated stuff or
the uncanny valley. Yes.
The uncanny valley, right? So to me it's a moment in the film that kind of breaks the film and reminds me that this doesn't work, and it's the whole mind wipe stuff. Like I don't think that I don't know how on earth they're going to explain wiping everybody's mind of Peter Parker, but then not wiping anybody's mind on their interactions with Spider-Man. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever without them having like some sort of mental breakdown.
Still exists.
That was actually in
a lot
the comic.
obviously without Peter Parker, there's no Spider-Man, but
Yeah.
for plenty of people, even before he had his identity outed, Spider-Man was just Spider-Man. Like,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but for MJ, she's wearing a broken Dahlia necklace without knowing why she's even wearing it. She has a scar on her head for being in a place where she's helping Spider-Man win a battle without realizing why she would be there in the first place. And then we have interactions with Happy. How on earth can Happy even be dating Aunt May without knowing who Peter Parker is in the first place? You know? Like,
Yeah.
why would that even be possible if he's not going to go see Aunt May because he knows that, oh, this is where Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, lives. I need to drop off his suit in his bedroom. All this stuff has happened.
I don't think we're going to see
It's
them.
interesting.
Sorry, I was just going to say real quick. I don't think we're going to see them totally forget about him for very long. I think at least hopefully, if in my mind, the whole kind of point of that is going to be that like everybody is going to start to see the plot holes in their own life and realize what's going on. And I know that's not perfect. I know that there's a lot with documentation and stuff like that that might not make sense. For example, like if Peter Parker no longer exists on certain records, how does he have an apartment? And how is he going to get a GED and do all of these other things? But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right on that point. But I think that hopefully, like I said, they'll explain it in a way where it's like, oh, MJ is going to realize and Happy is going to realize. They're all going to start to realize, like, wait a minute, like, how the heck is it that we have these interactions with Spider-Man and why? And like,
yeah, I just got one sentence to finish my point. It's just that to me, it would actually be a 9.5, even a 10 in the future. If the MCU can competently explain the mind wipe, then it actually makes the movie, pretty much as close to perfect as possible. Well,
yeah, I'm pretty sure they're going to do that because Kevin Feige and his group, they put these little Easter eggs, and it doesn't pay off until like maybe 5 or 6 movies down the line, and then so I'm pretty sure they're going to do that. It's interesting to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first Spider-Man movie that we've gotten that actually dealt with a pre-existing storyline in the comic books, right? Like the other films really never did that. Is that a correct statement to state?
Yeah, kind of. Even though the first one was very much very much close to the Green Goblin's stories in the comics.
Yeah, the second Green Goblin arc with Norman and Harry becoming Green Goblin and stuff.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of a rather generic storyline. But this one was more very specific because this deals with the storyline of Civil War and some of the events that happen in the Amazing Spider-Man. And to your point, Jose,
comic as well with Mephisto.
Yeah,
Mephisto confirmed.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I'm just joking.
Everything is about Mephisto, right? But I would say in that one they did it a little bit well because they actually tackled the issue of technology in there, because in that comic book, the way we all know that in the Civil War storyline, Peter Parker outed himself because he was trying to help Iron Man, right? It was the whole, superhero registration type of thing, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And then he kind of saw the ramifications of all of that. Aunt May nearly died because she was shot by one of Kingpin's assassins, right? And she came back. She didn't die. But what happened in that comic book is that Iron Man, Doctor Strange, and Mr. Fantastic got together to find a way to erase everybody's memory of Peter Parker.
Right.
And the way they did it was, Iron Man used extremists to get rid of any sense that Peter Parker is Spider-Man in technology, while Doctor Strange used the arcane and the occult to erase people's memory of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. They didn't erase Peter Parker completely.
Right.
And the way they did it was interesting because the only way that Peter Parker could reveal himself is that he actively had to do it, because whenever he took off his mask, you would see a body but no head.
Mhm.
unless he said, "You can know that I'm Peter Parker." So
Yeah.
I found it interesting that they've adapted it this way, but they did it in this fashion because there are those plot holes, like you said, that how is it that Happy Hogan was dating Aunt May, because we know the only reason he met Aunt May was through Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the thing. So, and one of the biggest plot holes for me is Electro in this movie, because one of the things that they did say was that the reason that everybody was coming through the multiverse is because they knew who Peter Parker was. Electro never knew Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And he even made that point in the movie where he was like, you know what, it'd be interesting. I don't know who this Peter Parker guy is. It'd be interesting if,
That's
we
true.
found out that Spider-Man is a black Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
So
true.
Well, there is like some stuff that they were setting up in the Amazing Spider-Man where there was this mysterious like deep throat character that was, if you remember, it was not throwaway, but there were moments where this character, you couldn't see their face. They had like a fedora hat and a trench coat on, and they were talking about like kind of how they knew Spider-Man, who Spider-Man was. And then at the end, Blue Electro, was like accessing, he was becoming like, he was like Ultron kind of at the end. He was accessing data and the internet, like at the end when he was merging with the power grids. So
Yeah,
that's a
possibly,
that doesn't make
flimsy
sense
yeah,
way
because
okay.
he found
yeah,
out.
no, because he doesn't.
Like
He still
maybe
doesn't know who
he
he is.
knows of the
Yeah,
existence
yeah.
of Peter Parker and his connection to Spider-Man, but he just never saw his face, which could
Well,
explain
yeah, he did know
that
who Peter Parker
comment.
was, but he didn't know Peter Parker was Spider-Man. So
right, exactly, and that's the whole reason why all these people are coming through the multiverse, because they had the connection of knowing who that Peter Parker was, Spider-Man, and he's the anomaly out of all of it.
well,
But
the other
anyway,
plot hole is how like that little plop of Venom was like was the only one that remembered that Peter Parker was Spider-Man and decided to stay behind. Like all of Venom and Eddie Brock go back
yeah,
to their
but you know what?
universe, and then it's just like this little
Wh-
drop.
But that kind of makes sense because we've established, especially in the Venom movie, that Venom is a multiversal character. So
Yeah.
Why would he go back
You have that.
then?
Well, why wouldn't he? I mean, maybe
Well, the whole
we
thing
haven't
is
established
that he forgot that it would stand to reason that Eddie Brock and Venom both forgot on a multiversal level who Peter Parker was, because all of those multiversal characters that were coming in forgot who Peter Parker was. At least,
did they though?
yeah, that's why they were pushed back to their universes. That was the whole point of the spell. If everybody forgot who Peter Parker was, that sends them back to their universes. That was supposedly the logic behind it. It's going to be tough to figure out all the plot holes
Well,
in this
listen.
one, though. Like all
Listen,
the
listen.
logic in this one. Like we said,
I think we're
Marvel
still
needs
on
to figure it
reactions,
out.
right?
Marvel needs to figure
We're
it out.
we're still on reactions, and the boys have to weigh in on this. So I'll make my reaction real quick because I did get into other stuff, but I thought on the level this was probably the best Spider-Man film that we've gotten. I am not ready to say that this is the best MCU film that we've gotten, because I think you look at the other films like Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, and they're not only telling their story, but they're interweaving the main threads of the MCU fantabulously. So I'll still give them credit, but I do think that it is in the discussion of at least top 5. And I do think that we've gotten the best characterization of Peter Parker and Spider-Man in this film. I agree with Jose that Tom Holland really nails his character in this film, and it took the other 2 films to kind of get him to this place, but I think they did it beautifully. And yeah, it did kind of meander for me in the middle. I'm not gonna lie, but listen, the performances were so beautifully done. I mean, props to Willem Dafoe and Andrew Garfield, especially. I literally teared up the moment that he saved MJ. That was such a emotional and just, it was such an impressive scene. Seeing that, and I think that's part of the reason why everybody's pushing for Andrew Garfield to return, because he did such a great job in this film. I really do think that this was a fantastic film. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna say it's the best MCU film, but it certainly is worthy of being in the discussion.
This just proves that Andrew Garfield needed some good writing to knock it out of the park, though, right? Like he was always a good Spider-Man
that's true.
and a good Peter Parker. He just needed that good writing to bring out the character. I agree. I hope that they give him a chance to be in a new Spider-Man movie, since Sony is doing so much better with these properties than they did in the past. You know, they kind of
as long as Marvel's the one doing everything for them.
Yeah,
that's true.
Exactly.
That's true. But I mean, Venom's getting better too.
Eli and AJ, though.
You know,
yeah, Venom is.
I like the second one.
Let's let the boys chime in, and you know, let's get their reactions to this.
Okay, so it's not corny or anything like that. Okay, I just want to put that.
Of course,
off.
we had to have.
Yes.
We had to
No,
have
no, it's good. It's good. It's good.
It's not. Rejoice.
Oh my gosh.
Huzzah.
Yeah, but the way that he says it's not, it's almost like it is. So I'm always got my guard up.
Gosh, no. Okay. It's good. You did say it meandered in the middle, and that I do agree with. Too many plot holes to count. It kind of confused me at the end, but I mean, it sort of makes sense now that I think of it. Jesus, here's my thing. I did not like Sandman, and Tobey Maguire was like the comedic relief, but I felt like he didn't do much.
well,
And I was also hoping for a Pizza Time reference at least once, so that's kind of disappointing there. But I mean, wait,
no,
AJ, you were gonna say something though. Okay. Otherwise, like it was pretty good. It was definitely action packed. The story was good. William Dafoe was there. And yeah, it was just good. Although, Green Goblin was like sick though. Like especially the ending where it got like super dark and stuff. Not dark, but you could definitely see that it had gotten serious.
It could have been
which
dark.
is something that
that fight between him and Tom Holland, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
it could have been dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I'm
why.
happy. I'm happy they brought back the Green Goblin mask just so we could see it again. But then I'm happy that they took it off for most of the latter
Yes.
half of the movie to let Willem Dafoe
Yeah.
like really be creepy and terrifying.
Yeah,
I heard they made a slight
Well-
change to the mask.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
It wasn't
But,
as
you know,
shiny. That was one of the
yeah. They
things.
made some changes to the overall costume too.
Yeah. It wasn't as shiny.
Yeah.
It wasn't as angled. I don't think. Like it's subtle, but they made some small changes to the costume.
Yeah, I didn't really notice it, but you know. AJ, what about you?
I am not going to follow the criticism train on this one because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And I think, personally, that it is one of the best Marvel films out there. And I think I might be biased because I liked how heavy the Maguire films played into this because I absolutely adore those films. And just to see, like, oh God, Green Goblin cutting loose was absolutely amazing.
Dude, that was insane.
Like on
That
the
was-
level of Norman, on the level of the Goblin himself, his fighting, his twisted imagination for making Spider-Man suffer. It was just like perfect.
Oh. His cunning, man. I love how cunning he is when he like almost friggin' blew up Doctor Strange at the end by planting the pumpkin bomb in that
Yeah.
device. It was just so cool to see him cut loose.
That is Green Goblin. That is Green Goblin. That's how he is.
Norman
So,
Osborn, yeah, he's
very
a genius.
visceral.
Absolutely amazing.
Character.
And you know what?
Mhm.
I'm gonna disagree with you guys that the middle dragged because that held my attention pretty well.
I didn't say it dragged.
Well, then those
I didn't
two
say it
then.
dragged. I
then
didn't
those
feel
two
like
then.
it meandered.
You know.
Yes,
Can I say I think why it dragged for me just a
those
little,
three.
just a little,
Those
is
three.
because I think that they ended up taking Doctor Strange out of the movie for a little too long. I think that's why the middle
Yeah.
dragged. I think he was so integral to the beginning and to the end that taking him out for too long in the second act entirely, essentially, messed with my flow a little bit.
Okay,
that's
but
just-
then
yeah, that's
if
just
he
me.
stayed in,
I did like
he would have had to constantly be having the not Sorcerer Supreme on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a little bit more of that emotional conflict might have been fun. The way that the movie was so well written, I think that they could have done a good job with that emotional conflict with him versus like, yo, it's destiny versus Tom Holland, like kind of finally changing his mind on that and saying like, hey, like doing the right thing sometimes is a little bit more important than destiny if you can change destiny, right? So like that little more conflict on that, I think would have made the center of the movie meatier. But again, like
I,
just a little bit drag, not too
I, I I will say this: I did like the fact that we leaned into more of Peter Parker being the scientist, which we haven't had in a lot of the Spider-Man movies. And so, that's why I'm not totally against that middle part, but I appreciated that they went there because that's really who Spider-Man is.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
tinkers with his toys. He's making the web shooters and stuff like that. And we've never really gotten that from any of the films previous, at least the ones in the
And it's
MCU.
super geeky. Yeah, the three geeks.
Yeah, he's a geek. That's what he is. And they really leaned into that, especially when you had that part where it's him and all the three Spider-Mans working together. And
Yeah, I know.
And we got the pointing meme, sort of.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
Spider-Man pointing at each other meme, which I'm super happy they did it the way that they did it.
Let me ask you guys a quick question because I was having a discussion with my brother-in-law on this, and he wasn't super clear on this, and I wonder if it's because we're super comic book nerds and stuff like that. We love Spider-Man and stuff like that, but the whole point of rehabilitating the characters, right? He didn't understand the point of it, and he was like, what does it matter if these people are rehabilitated because you're going to throw them back into the timeline and they're going to get killed anyway.
They might.
And the reason that he said that was that because he was under the impression that they were pulled from their universes either at the point or close to the point of their death.
Some of them were, not all of them were.
And so he's like, well, what was the point? I know
in the movies,
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I'm just throwing this out to you guys, because his thing was like, well, what was the whole point of the film then if you're rehabilitating them, but then you're throwing them back and they're going to die anyway?
They could be variants. They could go back to
So that's what I explained, because you're changing the timeline here, and so the timeline that they go back. But I think
they were variants. Actually,
I don't think the movie did a really, really good job explaining that part.
If they were trying to cook up this evil master plan, they're going to drop it because they've been supposedly rehabilitated. And then not to mention, it's not like Spider-Man's going to go beating up some regular Joe Schmo. Like, if Doc Ock is like, okay, I'm just going to put these arms down. He's not going to be like, no, you're not. He's going to be like, oh, you're putting them down? Okay, cool. Green Goblin, you're good. You're not crazy anymore. Awesome. I don't have to worry about you. And the same goes for like literally all the rest of these guys. Electro can't do Electro things if you don't got his powers.
I think it's simpler than that. Oh no, Eli, please go.
Oh wait. Okay. I think what you can answer that like super simply. Peter Parker's naivety is probably the reason for them thinking that could actually work. I mean, Doctor Strange, I believe he sort of went with the idea at first because I don't think he really realized that they had something that they could lose to this. He just wanted to give the chance, but then Peter Parker, obviously being Peter Parker, being stubborn, he continued the idea. But I think that even if it didn't matter if it was gonna work or not. It's just him being so naive that he would think that it could actually work. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I think that it's much simpler than that, and we're all forgetting, the one most important detail about the Spider-Man lore, that it's the whole, power and responsibility thing. He does it because he has to, and that's it.
Yeah,
it's a whole, like, if you can save a life, or if you have the power to save a life, then it's your responsibility to at least try. It's kind of the same thing as like, well, there's an injured dog in the street and whatnot, and he's gonna die anyway. But if you can try to do something, it's not just if you can do it. It's if you can try to do something, then you have a responsibility to do so. And that's kind of the thing. Yeah, like some of these guys, like Doc Ock and Electro, they were right at the moment of their death, essentially with Spider-Man. That doesn't mean that he shouldn't try to save their life. Try to rehabilitate them and try to save them, save at least their soul. Even if they're going to die, at least save their soul. I think that's kind of the easiest and the most correct way to explain that.
I mean,
So
yeah, I agree. That's exactly who Spider-Man is and always has been, and that's why we love Spider-Man, because he, in a way, is the ultimate superhero. He's even more Batman than Batman with his no killing rule. Because Batman, if there's some danger to him, like, he will probably kill someone to save his own skin. Spider-Man is the type of character that's so selfless, he might sacrifice himself so as not to kill somebody else. As long as it's, the only time he's going to kill somebody else generally is to protect his family. So I think that's just who Spider-Man always has been in the comics.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say, I guess, is as far as when it comes to the villains and them going back to their timelines and just dying immediately, I think that they have to be variants, and I think that also explains why Electro isn't blue anymore. And maybe like the Lizard variant is from a universe where Electro is also blue, which is why he comments on it, because there could be different Electros, and some are blue, which is terrible, and some look like Jamie Foxx, which is awesome. But like, yeah, it is kind of like they have to be variants, because if you think about it, so Green Goblin, I think he goes back to a little bit earlier before his death. He can change his life. That actually can be something really good for him. But like Doc Ock, I think, Wolfie, you mentioned this. He goes back to the moment of his death. So if it's exactly the same universe, he's gonna. Well, he sacrifices himself.
I get that, but
remember,
if I remember correctly,
right?
his throwaway line when you first meet Spider-Man is that he's looking for Spider-Man because Spider-Man. You know what?
Well, he had him by the neck. He said that he had him by the neck. That's the final moment in Spider-Man 2 when he gets him by the neck just before he takes control of the tentacles again and becomes good.
Sorry,
he describes that moment. So, like if that's the exact moment he goes back to, he's going to die anyway. And he was about to rehabilitate himself. So that could be kind of pointless unless he's a variant. Lizard doesn't die. Electro probably goes right back to dying unless he's a variant, because he even describes how he was about to die in that moment. And Sandman doesn't die at all in the movies either. And I just have to make one more tiny comment related to what Eli said. It is a shame that we didn't get to see Thomas Hayden Church in this more, but apparently that was because of COVID. He wasn't able to appear on set. And they even recycled scenes from the old movies when we saw him in his normal human form. That's from Spider-Man 3. That's not a new scene that they shot. So that was too bad, because I loved him in Spider-Man 3. He was one of my favorite parts.
Before we close, I'm just going to say this one thing. I am excited for the future of Spider-Man, because I don't think we've ever seen a Spider-Man like this before. Spider-Man, as an awesome superhero as he is, he's always been the type of superhero that leans on his family, whether it be Mary Jane or whether it be Aunt May and stuff. And, that kind of helps him do his superhero things, right? And he doesn't have that anymore. He is completely and totally alone.
No way home.
And I'm interested to see where they take Spider-Man as a character going forward.
Spider-Man Home Alone.
Yeah.
It'll be like this.
That's a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, the new costume though.
There's always a new costume.
But the new costume looks sick. Like at the very end with like the classic blue and the red.
Yeah, it's closer to
it really is. It is.
That's why he's finally Spider-Man. He's not just
that's
Iron
what I'm
Boy.
saying. It's kind of like in reverse, Spider-Man in reverse.
Yeah.
I love it.
Very true.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that calls it for us, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I hand it off to Jose to do the honors
Indeed,
closing our episode as usual.
Thanks as always to all of y'all for joining us out there. It's great to be back. It's great to see everyone back. I had taken a little bit of a hiatus, and I feel energized and ready to talk about geeky stuff again. And I'm so excited to get back to recording these episodes. So thanks for listening to another great episode. The best way to support your favorite podcast crews is to like, rate, share, subscribe. Check us out on Apple Podcasts and definitely give us a review there to support us. You can check us out at #GetGeekPodcast is the easiest way to find us on all of our social media, all of our websites, and everywhere that you can find our podcast. So please check that out. And don't forget to check out our partner podcasts. Check out CrossGen, check out Positively Cynical, and check out the new podcast from Wolfie and Walt, The Arena, which has had 2 great episodes so far. Please check that out and show your support for all of those podcasts as well. Thank you very much to everyone out there. And I guess there's nothing left to say. Let's return back to it and say, stay geeky, my friends.
Peace.